Hi, this is Jeannie at Trendy, and today we're going to make a sunflower wreath. We're going to use the Unique in the Creek flower form. This is plastic and it has holes in it, and the holes are already pre-measured. Excuse me. And you can use this to make all sorts of wreaths. I just want to say this is the first time that I have made a wreath using the form, and today I'm going to make a sunflower wreath. I'm going to make it very similar to what we do when we use a work wreath, but we're going to use the Unique in the Creek form. It's gray plastic. It's about not quite 1/4 inch thick, a little thinner than that, but it has numbers on it to help you keep up with what row we're working on and so forth. And it has 2 holes at the top, and we're going to put a zip tie in that to make a hanger. But the first thing we're going to do, and I'll give you the list of supplies that we're going to use. We're going to use a 2-tone mesh. This is just a plain, this is our most inexpensive mesh, and I chose that just because this is the first time I've made this wreath, and I'm just gonna, start out with something inexpensive. We have other types of mesh. There's fabric mesh that's perfect for sunflower, but this is kind of a gold, a real goldy, orangey gold color, and the name, the SKU number is RE130048. I have 2 rolls. I'm not sure that it will take both rolls. I know that it'll take more than one. Then I'm also going to use some emerald green. This is 10 inches, 10 yards in width. This is just plain Deco poly mesh with no foil. I'm going to use that for my leaves. And then I picked up these styrofoam, round styrofoam pieces. This came from Dollar Tree. It was like $1 for 2. We're going to use this to make our center. Now at Trendy, all the supplies except this came from Trendy, and we have a pre-made flower center that comes in like brown, green, and yellow, but we're out right now, so we're going to have to make our flower center. And to do that, I've been watching Lori with Unique in the Creek, and she shows you how to make several different flower centers, and she's got all kinds of tutorials on making different kinds of wreaths with the form, and there's also a Christmas tree shaped form. But check out her videos on YouTube. That's Unique in the Creek, and you can see all kinds of different videos on different types of flower wreaths and different ways to use the Unique in the Creek form. I picked up, I'm going to make my flower center out of felt, but I picked up the pieces of felt at Walmart, and they did not have any brown, so I had to just go to the fabric department, and I had them cut me a 3-inch length of brown felt. I think it was like 52 inches probably in width. We're going to also need a glue gun for this project, and zip ties, and I think that's it. Sorry. So the first thing we're going to do before we start on our wreath is fix the center. So, like I say, I had this cut in the fabric department, and I just had them cut a 3-inch width, and I'm going to go ahead and you can use the square pieces of felt too. I'm going to need about a 1.5-inch strip. So I'm going to just cut this right down the middle. Well, that's 4 inches. It's a 4-inch piece. So I'm going to cut it and have a 2-inch piece. exactly how much it was going to take to make the center. But what we're going to do at this point, I'm going to take that 2-inch piece and I'm going to fold it over. Just fold the edges together. Okay? Now I'm going to heat up my hot glue gun. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little hot glue along the edge of the felt. Just fold that. Just fold it over. I'm going to glue it together. If you want to cut this in shorter pieces to work with a shorter piece, you could. So I'm just going to finish, I'm just folding that edge over and gluing that piece of felt together. I'll just finish this length of this piece and I'll do the other piece also. Okay, since I don't know exactly how much it's going to take, I'm just going to go with this first piece right now, and then I'll have another piece if needed. So I just have my 2-inch piece of felt folded over and the edges glued together. Okay, so that's I have 2 yards. That's 2 yards. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fringe this. We're going to cut on the folded edge, and I'm going to make just a cut, about a 1/2 inch cut, and I'm going to go to about a 1/4 inch away from the glued together edge. I'm just going to make a cut and just, they don't have to be perfect. Okay. It's probably kind of hard to see with that brown, but we're cutting on the folded edge and cutting through the felt to about a 1/4 inch from the raw edge. I'm going to finish making those cuts in this piece. Well, of course, I made too big a cut and I cut it in 2, but that's okay. That won't matter because when we start rolling this up, you know, when we end off with one piece, we can just start with another. But that will happen, so don't worry. This is the same way that when I was making piñatas for the grandkids, that I would take folded tissue paper and make the little fringy paper to decorate the piñata with. Exact same process. Now the styrofoam piece is about 4.5 inches, and that's what we're going to use for the flower center. But the flower center is going to be this felt, and we're going to just roll, we're going to put some hot glue on it and just roll that up like that until we get, it's sort of like a ribbon rose, until we get a flower or rosette that is a little over 5 inches. And then this is going to be, we're going to attach the rosette to the styrofoam center, and that's just going to elevate it a little bit from the wreath. So I'm going to take the hot glue, and I'm just going to, I don't have enough cord on my glue gun, but I'm going to put some hot glue along the edge And then I'm just going to start rolling it up. Be careful with the hot glue. But just rolling that up, keeping the edges straight. Okay, now I've used one piece. Okay. Okay, then I'm gonna take another piece, and I think it actually will be easier to do if I have short pieces. I'll just add this where the other one left off. Just keep rolling that up. I'm just going to keep rolling till I get that about 5 inches in diameter. Okay, I've used a yard of my felt and it's still not quite big enough, so I'm going to go ahead and take at least another half yard. Another yard, not a half yard. Let's see. No, I've used up. This was a 2-yard strip, so I'm going to go ahead and cut another 1 yard. Okay, my center is about 5 inches at this point, and I still have a yard of my felt left, so I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of that and use all 4 pieces of my felt. Okay. So now there's our flower center, and I believe I used 4 yards. It was 2 inches in width and 4 yards in length, if I'm not mistaken. Now you can go back and you can also watch Lori's Unique in the Creek videos, I believe, on when she uses the felt pieces that are, I guess that's what, 8 by, see how wide this is. 9 by, well, it's about 9 by 11 pieces. I think she uses 4 pieces of felt for her. So, you know, however you get your felt is fine. But you wind up, this felt center now is about 6 inches, and that's fine. It's going to cover up that styrofoam just right, and it should be just right for our flower center, and that's what it looks like on the back. Okay, this is about an 8-inch zip tie, and I'm just gonna thread that through the holes. don't think that zip tie will work. The head is too large. So let me get a smaller one. And I just knocked all my zip ties off at the floor. And that's how it goes, isn't it? When you're working with zip ties, you always have to thread into the flat side. Otherwise, it's not catching. Okay. And then just snip off that. And then you've got a hanger for your wreath. On this first ring, there are 8 holes evenly spaced apart, and that's what I'm going to use for my leaves. I'm going to put two petals in each hole. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 16 pieces of mesh. Okay, so my pieces are cut in 10 inches. So you can see how the mesh just curls up on its own. Of course, this is 10-inch wide mesh. I'm gonna lay that, smooth that out, and I'm gonna take one corner and kind of bring it to the center. Take the other corner, bring it to the center, and then just scrunch that up. And then I'm gonna turn it over so that my edges are kind of pointing downward. And then you want it to kind of make a V. Kind of press it out that way. And I'm going to put 2 leaves in each twist. So I'm going to just take a clip to hold this while I make my next one. Corner to the center, both corners to the center, and then just pinch it up. Turn it over. I made my second petal, so I'm going to take my first one, take the clip off, and then I'm going to put my petals together. And then I'm going to take a zip tie, go up through where I have the petals pinched together. And I'm going to close the zip tie. Well, sorry, couldn't get it threaded through there. Pull that zip tie tight, push those petals out into a V toward the outside, and then snip off that zip tie. Okay, and then I'm just going to keep working around. I'm going to put 2 leaves in each hole on the number 1 line. Well, I'm almost around. I just have 2 more holes left. Now, if you didn't want your leaves quite this thick, you could always just use 1 petal, especially if you're using up some scrap mesh. I had a new roll of this emerald green though, so I wanted to use lots of green for mine. But be sure to pull that zip tie snug because you don't want your petals slipping out. Now they kind of sort of like they're sticking up right now, but they'll lay down flatter as we lay in our next layer of petals. So now we're down to the last one. I'm just layering 2 petals together, one right on top of the other. Put the zip tie in, lay the petals down, close the zip tie. So now we're ready to go to our next layer. Now the next petals would be put on a little bit different because we have 2 holes. And so we'll take the zip tie and we'll thread the zip tie up through the hole. Of course, that was the wrong way. You have to have that flat side of your zip tie. Okay, so if we want to, we can go ahead and kind of just barely get our zip tie started, and that may speed things up a little bit. So let me go ahead and put in a couple and we'll see. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start our zip ties like that. Now, the next thing I have to do is cut the yellow gold mesh, and I'm going to cut it in 10-inch pieces also, but this time I'm going to cut 2 layers at a time. Okay, I just got a straight edge on my mesh. And now I'm going to cut 2 rolls at the same time. That'll just speed things up a little bit. These pieces will be cut in 10-inch lengths also. Okay, so I have my 10-inch pieces of mesh, and we're going to do it essentially the same way as far as making the petals. So it's 10 inches in width, 10 inches in length. We're going to spread it out, let it roll on its back, and bring a corner to the center, each corner to the center, and then just pinch up through the middle, flip it over so your petals are kind of have a downward turn, and then pinch it together, keeping it with your ends pretty equal. And then we're just going to put a clip on that to hold that, and then I'm going to make a second petal, same way. Flip it over, pinch it, kind of looks like a V. And then we're going to put it right side by side of the other petal. Just going to put that together. So we've got 2 petals. So now we're going to take our wreath. We already have our zip tie in there. So take the clip off. Going to take the folded edges of the petal, slide it right under the zip tie. And then I'm going to pull that zip tie tight. Kind of spread the petals out. And then snip off the zip tie. Okay? So that will be our first yellow petal. And make another one. So you just let the mesh roll up naturally, spread it out, bring the corners to the center, scrunch up through the center, flip it over, make a V, another one. Corners to the center. Scrunch it up. Flip it over. Make a V. And then stack them side by side. And then we're going to slide it under the zip tie. The tips pointing outward. And then tighten the zip tie. And then snip off the tip. Okay. And we're just going to continue working around that row number 2 in the same manner. Okay, there's our wreath after we've gone around row number 2. Now we're going to move on to row number 3, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll need 8 clusters of 2 petals. So I'm going to go ahead and start my zip ties just to make it a little easier. You think it's so easy to find that hole, but it's not. I'm just going to go ahead and do that for all 8 holes around line number 3. And it's easier to thread those zip ties in if you just do it from the back. Browser's got a squeaky toy. Okay. Come back, Browser. Come back. For this next layer, we're going to make the petals in the same way. Just take the 10-inch piece, bring a corner to the center, each corner to the center, and then pinch it up, flip it over, make a V. I'm going to make 2 petals, put 2 petals to a zip tie. Okay, so take that petal, take the next one and put it right beside it. So they're stacked just like that. And then we're going to slide it under the zip tie. Pull the zip tie tight.
I'll be back at 12. Sorry.
Pull the zip tie tight. Snip off that end. And kind of spread your petal out a little bit. Just kind of, okay. And we're going to do that all the way around that ring. There's 8 zip ties that we're going to put 2 petals in. Okay, so there we have 3 layers so far. We have our leaves and then 2 layers of petals, and now we need to put the last row of petals. There's 8 more places where we need to put petals. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my zip ties, and I'm just going to put that over from the back and put those in from the back. That's easier to do just like that. Okay, we made our 2 petals in the same fashion, and I'm going to slide it under the zip tie, and you can see these holes are offset a little bit from the last row, so they're going to kind of cover up our mechanics from the previous row. Well, I had to regroup. Browser came in and knocked my camera over, y'all. But anyway, I think it's working okay. So I have finished all the petals. And of course, when you get down to the last few rolls or inches on the mesh, you know, it has a much tighter coil. I had this much left off of each roll, so it did take just, you know, almost the whole 2 rolls. So you can see that the petals may be a little curlier looking right in the center, but that's okay. So the next thing we're going to do is attach our flower center that we made with the felt, and we're going to use the piece of styrofoam to kind of elevate it. I'm going to attach the styrofoam right there and then attach the flower center to that. Okay? So, I love playing with hot glue. It's not very often that I get to play with hot glue, so I have enjoyed this project. But we're going to put some hot glue right on the ends of that mesh, and you know, hot glue will melt mesh sometimes. I guess it just depends on what kind of glue gun, what kind of glue you're using and so forth, but we're going to just put some right on the ends of that, and then take the styrofoam piece and put it right down in the center and just kind of hold that for a little bit. And if you see any gaps, you know, where you can see your board, you can always, you know, kind of pull the mesh over a little bit. And if you need to, you know, you can add a little hot glue. If you've got a gap that you can see that you think is bad, you can just make a single petal. And let's see, let me show you how to do that. You could just make a single petal and put a little zip tie around it. Sometimes, you know, you really can't tell till you hang it on your front door, and if you put it on your front door and you can see a hole somewhere, it's just real easy to come back and fix if you got a little mesh left over. But you can always take a little piece like that and stick it in there and make, you know, one more little petal just to cover up something, if you need to. Okay, so now we're going to glue our felt flower center to that styrofoam, and we're just going to kind of fluff it out a little bit. Especially that outer edge, kind of roll that down a little bit so it'll cover up the styrofoam. Okay. And I'm just going to put some glue on the styrofoam. Just kind of press on that and get that center in there good. And of course, you'll always have to clip some strings. I don't care how careful you are or what you're cutting with, you know, whether you're cutting with scissors or a rotary cutter or anything. You're just usually going to have to go back and clip a few strings. I have never used any kind of a heat sealing tool, so I just can't respond to that. I have people that ask about that. People ask me all the time, what can you do to keep mesh from fraying or from unraveling? And you know, really there's just nothing magic to it. I have tried on some paper mesh. I have tried using some Elmer's craft glue on the edges, and that kind of helped that from unraveling. But usually I just say, you know, make as few cuts in the mesh as you can and handle it as little as you can. And just know, just know that you're going to have to clip some strings. Try to clip your strings rather than pull. Sometimes just pulling on them is just going to make them ravel, make the next layer ravel. So try clipping. I love the way this turned out. This is really will not be an expensive wreath to make either. And I love the mesh, and like I say, it is the least expensive mesh that we have, but you know, it's just turned out really pretty. So I'm gonna go hang this on the door and see how it looks. Okay, there's our wreath after we finished it. If you can see it all. It measures about 27 inches, and the back is nice and neat, and you've got this zip tie hanger. And I really like the way it turned out. And you could just make this out of all sorts of different colors. Okay? I'm going to hang that on the door and get some pictures. And I don't think I need to fill in any gaps. I had said, you know, you could fill in some gaps if you see them, but you know, this is good. You can always move those petals around a little bit, and that's really good coverage, I think. I like the way it looks, okay? All the supplies came from Trendy, and like I say, this is 10-inch mesh. We used 2 rolls of the yellow and just a little bit of the emerald. Of course, you can, you know, put leaves on it or not. You can do that any way that you want to. And we made the center using some felt and styrofoam. We have some flower centers at Trendy. We're out right now, but they kind of have a grassy center. They're about this size, and you could just, you know, hot glue them on there. But we do have some of those coming in. Okay? Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.